the cloudy day. Wait, that must mean... Sorry, the weather today just called for some cloud gaming. With the success of streaming services like Netflix and Disney+, companies like Google, Amazon and Microsoft are beginning to experiment with game streaming. Now, we've seen with Stadia and its support and how it's dropped drastically because Google does that with their new ideas in tech. We've also seen other failed attempts in the past. And quite honestly, the problem was with latency and, the speed of the internet. But after playing things like Microsoft's xCloud, which is their prototype gaming service, which I think will eventually integrate into Game Pass as well, they're going to become kind of one service. The issue still is, though, speed internet and latency. Now, after playing around with the xCloud for a little while and the different games in their library, I think services like these have a nice pro and con list, and that's what I'd like to do in this video. So what are the pros of using cloud gaming? Well, first of all, the hardware, quite simply, it's a smartphone or a tablet or an older computer. Really, it's just one of these. As long as the device has the power to stream video, then basically it can stream games as well. And the promise a lot of these companies are making with the fact that you can stream from your phone is that they take care of all the hardware. With xCloud, they're basically running Xbox Series X's on a server and you're accessing it. And in the future, because the load times are so fast, one of the things they're promising with xCloud streaming and just video game streaming in general is the load times are going to be nearly instant because they're going to have these giant factories filled with servers and really fast computers, whether it's the game consoles or whatever, and the load times are going to be nothing compared to what you experience right now. I think the promise of instant loading isn't quite there yet, and even though PlayStation likes to say how fast their PlayStation 5 is, I still have to wait through loading screens. And it's long enough that I'll go on my phone to pass the time. Now, with that, I will have to say, I would love to just not have to buy a console and to have it clutter my TV cabinet, because especially the PlayStation 5, it was just really uncomfortable to put on the cabinet. It doesn't really want to fit anything, and these consoles are pretty big and beefy. And as much as I love my old hardware, it would be nice to have a bit more of a cleaner desktop. Now, I can't really talk because my desk is just full of stuff compared to my wife Kayla's. Her desk is spotless, it's clean.
Well, what even is this? It's so messy. He doesn't even go there anymore. Cleanse the platter.
And another pro with having that clutter gone is that you don't need to buy any hardware. I paid $800 for my PS5, and that was just for the console itself. I would love just to use that $800 to pay for a service fee to stream all those PlayStation games to my phone. I would much prefer paying 15, 20, heck, even $50 for a couple of months to play all those games rather than spend that much money just on the console alone. So paying for a cloud service is probably going to be more affordable, especially for families, than to buy a console and get all that hardware and the software you need, buying the games, paying for online services, and having to maintain it as well. I stopped using my Xbox One and I gave it to my parents to watch Disney Plus on because their TV wasn't a smart enough TV, so we just used the Xbox to do Netflix and Disney Plus and stuff. But the issue I had was that they didn't watch it very often, so a lot of the time when I came over to visit and they asked me to help set something up with it, I would have to update the console. Now, of course, your streaming service apps are going to have to update, but I doubt it's going to be the gigabytes that we get on consoles right now. And the other beautiful thing with game services, the game streaming, the whole thing that, just sells whatever service it is, whether it is video games or video, is the library. Having all those games available to you, just paying a little monthly subscription that can sometimes be cheaper than buying a single game for the year. Mind you, Xbox Game Pass is about $10 a month for me, so overall that's $120. Honestly, in Australia, that is a brand new Call of Duty game. For example, I want to show you something. Let's go to EB Games, and I want to see how much Demon Souls is on PS5, because I've been wanting to get that game for a while, but it's just too expensive to fork out just for a single game. And if I go to PlayStation and have a look at... Let's just look at the pre-orders first. Like, look how expensive these games are. The Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut, $125. It's cheaper just to pay for Game Pass for the year than to buy that single game. Battlefield 2042, $10 cheaper. Hey, Death Stranding, why is that so much cheaper than the Ghost of Tsushima? Like, I mean, I'm pretty sure Death Stranding is a longer game, so shouldn't we be paying more for that? Okay, this is a whole other video in of itself, but the pricing that PlayStation's doing for their games, I hate it. Why is a Plague Tale $50, but like Lego Star Wars, which, mind you, I'm very excited for, is like 110. Deathloop, $100. But Gotham's 110. Like Hades, 50. Like, I feel like these indie games are obviously cheaper, but I would be willing to pay for Hades more than I would be for Guardians. Like, if Guardians is cheap, I'm probably going to buy it more. But Hades, I know, is a good game, so just bump up the price and I'll pay for it. But if we just go to Demon Souls, right now, for PlayStation 5, it is $125. Mind you, I can get pre-owned for $108. However, if we go to a different store like Big W, who... This is where I got my PlayStation 5 because it was the cheapest out of everywhere. And we just type in Demon Souls. It's still $109. Like, that's for one game. And probably a game I'm not going to play a lot of because I'm going to get frustrated because it's a really difficult game. But I want to experience it, and I should probably borrow it from a friend as well. But no one else has a PS5 for some reason. I don't know why. The point I'm trying to get across is that games are getting more expensive, and game services are going to be another option for a lot of people who don't want to spend that much money on one single game, but rather pay a little bit for a massive library. And you know what? There's a month or so where I haven't used Game Pass, so I've just cancelled my subscription and I'm good. And then when I have time again to play games, I just give them $10 for a couple of months and can play the games again. Like, that is a really competitive and smart way of doing business. However, despite this, I have to talk about the fact that different genres right now do not work as a game service. On xCloud, they have a range of different games. After playing them all, I realized different genres work on the streaming platform right now with the latency, but others do not work. So, for example, Forza 4, it looks wonderful, it loads pretty quickly, but the controls, it feels like you're just driving a butter car because the latency is so bad. By the time I brake, I'm already hitting the thing, and when I accelerate, all the other cars have already left. Halo, I can play the campaign with auto lock, just like playing on Xbox back in the day. I don't think I would even bother trying multiplayer. But for shooters, if it's PvE, I think you can get some enjoyment out of it and you have some sort of aim assist. Or if you get good at understanding the latency. Hitman, same deal. I struggled with that because of the latency. It's just Resident Evil. Minecraft Dungeons, because it's a hack and slash and it's, you know, more catered towards children, it was a lot more forgiving and therefore was more enjoyable. Hellblade is great because it is just a third-person walking sim, pretty much. Obviously, you know, there's more to it, but a lot of it just feels fine because, like most third-person games, as a character, when you press forward, it takes a second for them to really walk into the walking motion. Destiny 2, some enemies are fine to shoot, but with games like Arkham Knight, if you're playing on easy, and obviously the reactions to getting hit are a lot more lower, then it's more enjoyable. But if you're going to play on hard, it's going to be nearly impossible. You have to pretty much know what's going to happen before it happens to give it the input to send it to the server to, you know, you need to be a mind reader practically to play these in a more difficult stance as a game service right now. And that's mostly just to do with streaming and latency. Pretty much your enjoyment you're going to have on a game service depends on how much input is important within the game. I don't think I would ever play Dark Souls as a game service because you need those milliseconds to hit, and that's not going to work on the game service. But more relaxed, laid-back games where you can make mistakes or where there's gaps in which input delay can be catered for, then I'm sure those games will be wonderful. But if you're going to be playing more competitive games or games that are really intense and require really low latency, then game services are not ready for you, unfortunately. Because, quite simply, as we move over to the cons, it's all because of your internet. And the first con with game streaming is that you always need internet. Have you ever gone and made some popcorn, sat down on the couch to watch your favorite TV show or movie on a streaming service, and then you realize your internet's out and that you can no longer watch that thing you wanted to watch? I have, and a lot of the time that's probably going to happen with game streaming as well. You're going to want to play a game, and then you're going to have no internet, and then that's it. There's nothing you can do. You just got to wait for your service provider to come back on. And when it does come on right now, especially, there's going to be issues between Wi-Fi and mobile data. Luckily, Australia has a pretty good wireless network when it comes to mobile data. It's sometimes even faster than our wired connection, which is really sad, but also, I guess, good for those who are on the go and want to do game streaming. But once you get fast internet, it's not going to be how fast you can upload or download. Really, it's going to be where your home is and where the data center is. So the main issue that you're going to have is whether you are close enough to a data center. Now, right now, this is a bit difficult because there's not that many data centers. If you live close to a data center that's, for example, providing xCloud services, then the latency is going to be a lot smaller compared to if that data center is on the other side of the country or the world. And with how spread Australia is, I doubt I'm ever going to live near a data center unless I'm in the city. But even then, just if I go out and travel, if we're on the road, on mobile, it kind of defeats the purpose if you need to be close to the hardware to have a good service, when the whole thing is that you can play this or do this wherever you want. And my biggest concern that's going to happen, and we're already starting to see it with sort of Stadia and everyone's kind of doing their own thing, we're going to have what we have right now with video streaming services, which is that there's too many. Like there was Netflix and Hulu, but now we've got stuff like Stan and Disney Plus and I mean, heck, even YouTube Red. There's just so many and you have to pay for them all. And so it ends up costing as much as it did to have cable in the first place because everyone just has their own service. And so for now, we're going to have a small amount of services and you kind of get to pick and choose. And it looks like Xbox has the best option, but maybe in the future to play an exclusive PlayStation game, you need to be on their service. A new Nintendo game comes out, could be on their service. And then there's going to be maybe indie services that come out eventually when the hardware is a little bit more secure with latency and all the other issues that comes with game streaming. And the other con that happens when you sign to a service like this is that your library is not your own. Things are going to come and go, and you don't get to keep any of it. Maybe it'll be similar to Game Pass. When the game leaves, you can buy it for a certain discounted price, but I doubt every service is going to have this. And for those who just like to have their own games, especially physical copies, this is not for you, I'm sorry. I very much do like to keep my old hardware. I love the memories that I have of them, and actually, this here is my original Xbox. I love it. I'm keeping it. It doesn't work. Probably going to fix it. But the memories stored in this thing, I look at this and I just remember all the experiences I had with it and how much I just loved playing this growing up. I'm not going to get that if I pay for a game service subscription. Like, this is something that I bought with my own money, with help from my parents. They did help me. I was quite young when I got this, but I'm going to keep this forever. And the games that I have, I'm going to keep forever. I'm not going to get that with, digital streaming. You don't get to feel it and hear it. And yeah, see, that's the tray. That's the broken tray right there. Like, this is very physical. And although it's, digital games, there's some physicality to it that I'm just always going to have and remember. And that's something that you're going to miss when you're just paying someone else to store a console and to upgrade everything. You don't get to keep, stuff. No, it's not going to become retro, it's just going to get upgraded. Look, like the Stream Deck, I don't think this is going to be made for everyone. I think it will become a little bit more standard as time goes on, but right now I think the best target market for the service is going to be families and, especially for the iPad toddlers and children. The cost of buying a new console on games compared to just buying into a service that streams the games is just going to be a no-brainer for those who are on a budget or who want to, what's going to be the cheaper option and more value for money as well. It's going to be the game streaming services. Right now, it is the enthusiasts who are troubleshooting and testing and giving our opinion of it all, but I think at the end of the day, we're still going to have our computers and our consoles because we love that hardware, and the latency is just going to be too much of an issue. And companies are going to need to do some serious marketing to get the stigma of playing on your phone as something that is okay and not cringe to do, because there's just been so many apps that have come out and so many sayings of things that people just don't want to game on their phone. Yes, this is a somewhat decent sized screen, but it's nothing that I've enjoyed playing any games on, especially if it is a console game. A lot of times I have to squint or have it super close to my face because everything's really small. And as someone who has grown up buying consoles and games, I do like keeping my games. I like my physical games. Hey Kayla, how much do I like keeping my games?
You have too many games.
I have too many games. I don't.
Such a hoarder.
Yeah, I'm a hoarder, but I like it. I like the physicality. I prefer that over the streaming service. Although the value for money is pretty good, so I will keep using Game Pass to play games that I might not want to lay down the full price for, but try out. Or games I'll play once and never play again. But games I love and adore and have grown up with, I want to keep with me so I can play them whenever. But I do think eventually these companies are going to get a hold on the latency issue eventually, and we might start seeing services that are probably as competitive as Spotify is for music, although I doubt we're going to have one service that's just, all the games are under this umbrella. Unless if one of the bigger companies like Microsoft and Amazon, who have the server capacity, is able to somehow umbrella approach, everyone's game services. It's a bit confusing of how it would really work out, but maybe if Microsoft and Amazon have the license and the server power, or with Stadia as well, how they want to license out the technology, I wouldn't be surprised if other companies like Sony and Nintendo just pay a small license fee and have their own games in the umbrella. But I think at the end of the day, we're going to see the same issue we do with streaming services. You're going to make more money that way compared to paying another fee for a competitor, pretty much. So for those who don't have a really fast console and can pay $10 a month for games, get excited. You're going to have something really soon that you can play some modern video games on. I don't know how many years away it is, and I don't know what everyone's plan is, but I do know that once the technology is established enough that we have something as impressive as Netflix, for example, Game Pass, then we're going to start seeing a lot more businesses and studios coming in to the ring to find it out. I personally, if it's included in a service fee, or if it eventually gets better than the hardware that I have, that it's smarter just to pay the service fee to stream computers and video games, then sure, I'll do that. But for now, I'm sticking with my hardware and I'll play it around as a gimmick or when I visit people. Because, for example, if you go to family events and they don't have the console you want or the game save or your profile, I can just take this along with me and, for example, stream Miles Morales on my PlayStation 5 from home and play it at their house. Like, stuff like that's pretty cool. I will admit that's some pretty neat stuff. So that's been my opinion on cloud gaming. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below, whether or not you're going to invest in this, or is this something that you're just going to be uninterested in and not looking forward to see. If you have any other topics you'd like me to cover, then as well, let me know. And since this video doesn't have a sponsor, I would really appreciate it if you could head over to Subscribestar or Patreon and to give a little financial donation to help us out. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time.